Hello sa inyo. So basically, dito na tayo sa last lecture video natin for the semester under the subject of BAPE 6, Accounting for Special Transactions. Now, for our last video, kahit di nyo na ito panoorin, goods na yan kasi ito, maikli lang to, dito abot ng 15 or 20 minutes. Tapos na to. Bakit? Kasi medyo hindi importante tong mga topics na to. So, and theories lang naman to eh. So, on your own, you can read this. Pwede nyo nang basahin your own kahit di nyo na need mag-waste ng time nyo to watch this lecture video. Diretso na kayo sa, sa notes sa books nyo. Kasi hindi naman to, medyo nakakatamad din kasi itong topic na to kasi hindi naman to masyadong importante. Tiris-tiris lang to. So for our last lecture video, for this semester, under this subject, kahit hindi nyo na panoorin, wag nyo na sayangin yung time nyo. Use your time wisely. Kahit hindi nyo na panoorin tong video na to. So, yun na. So, serious ako. Kahit hindi nyo na panoorin, close nyo na agad to. Lagay nyo lang yung attendance nyo sa baba. Goods na kayo. So, ito, insurance contracts tayo. Chapter 12. Second to the last topic natin for this semester under this subject. So, insurance contracts. So, aware naman kayo kung anong insurance contracts, di ba? Mga insurance. Lalo na pag nakagraduate na kayo, starting na kayo working, marami ang mag-PPM sa inyo. Kukuha ka ng insurance, kuha ka insurance. Oo, marami ang mag-PPM sa inyo. Minsan, naiyak ka pa mag-reply, hindi mo nalang sinisin kasi ayaw mo pa magkuha ng insurance, gusto mo pa enjoy yung pera mo. Ganon. So, for this chapter, anong learning objectives natin? So, state the scope and applicability of PFR 17, define an insurance contract, and describe the level of aggregation and measurement of insurance contract. So, ngayon, PFR 17, insurance contract yung namamahala under this topic. Now, previously, PFRS 4 ata, yung namamahala under previous standard under insurance contract was PFRS 4. Now, PFRS 4 is known as an interim standard, meaning yung standard na yan, temporarily, nandyan yan to govern, to standardize, kasi hindi pa na-finalize yung appropriate standard. Hindi pa na-finalize si PFRS 17. So, nandyan muna yung si PFRS 4, insurance contracts yung pangalan niya, to substitute lang, para mag-sub lang, kasi hindi pa na-finalize yung final standard under insurance contract na si PFRS 17. And kung mapapansin nyo, sa PFRS 4, medyo may liberality yung mga insurance company sa kanilang application ng insurance nila, kung paano nila ina-account. Ngayon, pagdating ni PFRS 17, nung nag-enact na siya, effective na siya, medyo na-standardize na. Pero may liberality pa rin yung mga may liberality pa rin yung mga insurance companies kasi itong insurance contracts na to, kaya ito natagalan sa pag-standardize kasi napaka-flexible ito, napaka-dynamic, maraming pasikot-sikot. So mahirap i-standardize ang mga ganitong klaseng transactions. Kahit itong PFR 17, may nagano pa rin yan ng mga some liberalities for the insurance companies. Now, PFR 17 prescribes the principles for the recognition, measurement at presentation and disclosure ng mga insurance contract by an insurer. PFR 17 applies to the following, yung mga insurance and reinsurance. May reinsurance pa tayo. May insurance na may reinsurance pa. Ano yan? Malaman lang natin. Contracts issued by an insurer, reinsurance contracts held by an insurer, and investment contracts with discretionary participation features issued by an insurer. So ano ba tong insurer? Now, ang insurer basically is the person, or not is the person, the entity that issued an insurance contract. Meaning, yung mga ProLife UK, yung mga Danville, yung mga AXA, yan, mga insurance company sila. Sila yung nag-i-issue ng mga insurance contract sa mga tao. And insurer is the party that has an obligation under an insurance contract to compensate. Ibig sabihin, to indemnify a policyholder if an insured event occurs. So mga insurance company yan, kahit yung, di ba, may mga other financial institutions din na nagko-compensate. So yun, anong mga insured event yan, sir? Like, aksidente ka. nabangga kotse mo, di ba? Tapos may insurance ka, sakto. O, yung insurance na magbabayad ng damages. Yung insured event doon is yung nabangga yung kotse. Kapag yung insured event na yun is nakalagay sa policy mo. Policy mo yung yung kontrata binigay sa'yo, ha? Policy, kaya policy holder yung tawag sa'yo. So pag yung insured event, ibig sabihin, kasi nakalagay doon sa policy mo na if na-aksidente yung sasakyan mo, then i-prove mo sa insurance company. So, i-compensate ka niyan. Ganun lang, basta alam ko naman, aware naman kayo kung ano yung idea or concept ng isang insurance, di ba? So, an insurance contract, ito yung definition niya according to PFR 17. Is a contract under which one party, the issuer, yung nag-issue ng insurance or also known as the insurer, accept significant insurance risk. Take note of the word significant significant. Kasi later on, pag hindi yan significant, wala tayong insurance contract. Dapat accept significant insurance risk from another party, the policy holder, yung nagbabayad ng insurance, nagbabayad ng premium ng insurance, to which the issuer agrees or by agreeing to compensate the policyholder if a specified uncertain future event, the insured event, adversely affects the policyholder. Ibig sabihin, adversely, ibig sabihin may negative effect sa policyholder. So, yan yung insurance contract natin. Si issuer or si insurer, siya yung tatanggap ng significant insurance risk. Insurance risk. Ibig sabihin, yan yung risk na kung saan if nangyari yung insured event sa policy ni policyholder, then yan yung risk na kailangan i-compensate ni insurer si policyholder. Di ba? Na-discuss naman natin yung concept ng risk sa ating derivatives. Na-discuss yun na rin yan sa auditing nyo. Na-discuss yun na rin yan sa inyong management accounting. So, familiar na kayo sa concept ng risk. Now, the policyholder, this is the party that has the right to compensation. Ito, example, ikaw yung nag-avail ng insurance. So, ikaw yung policyholder. Under an insurance contract, if an insured event occurs, so siya yung makakatanggap. But take note, dapat siya yung adversely na affect. May negative effect sa kanya. Yung insured event is an uncertain. Dapat uncertain. Future event that is covered by an insurance contract and creates insurance risk. Oo. Dapat uncertain yan. Kasi, pag example, baka yung iba sa inyo, nababasa nyo rin sa internet na yung isa sa mga sales stock ng mga insurance agents na kapag as early as kumuha ka na ng insurance. Kasi later on, lalo na kapag patanda ka na patanda, mahirapan ka, tataas na yung premium mo. Tataas na yung record mong bayaran. And kapag, example, kumuha ka ng health insurance, tapos habang nag-a-apply ka, siyempre papaano ka nila ng medical certificate. Papacheck up kayo na yan. Tapos pag nalaman sa medical certificate mo, sa medical examination mo, na may buyag-buyag, may cancer ka, na-detect doon, di ka nila yung tatanggapin. Oo. Kasi baka isipin nila na kaya ka pala nagkumukuha ng insurance kasi para makakuha ka ng compensation knowing na mayroon ka ng cancer. And the risk of that happening, yung significant insurance risk on the part of the insurer, tataas. So, hindi tatanggapin ng insurance company ang application mo. Oo. So, kaya isa yan sa mga sales stock ng mga ng mga insurance agents. As early as now, kuha ka na ng insurance kasi later on, mahirapan ka na. Lalo na kapag nagkasakit ka na, hindi na tatanggapin yung application mo. Kasi, pag nagkasakit ka na, masyado nang mataas yung significant insurance risk ni insurer, ni insurance company. Hindi ka na tatanggapin yan. Kaya, sales stock yun nila. Essential elements, which is nangyayari talaga. So, essential elements in the definition of an insurance contract. Yung una is transfer of significant insurance risk. Now, there's a transfer of significant insurance risk from the insured to the policy, from the insured, which is the policyholder, to the insurer, which is the insurance provider. Bakit? Kasi, di ba, if there's an adverse effect na nangyari kay policyholder, nagkaroon ng adverse effect sa kanya yung insured event. Yung uncertain future event, nagkaroon ng adverse effect sa kanya. Yung sasagot para doon, hindi si policy holder but rather si insurer. Siya yung magko-compensate for that. Kaya there's a transfer of significant risk, significant insurance risk from the policy holder to the insurer because yun yung stipulated sa insurance contract nila. Kasi pag may nangyari kay policy holder, sagot siya ni insurer. Kasi na-transfer yung significant insurance risk kay insurer because of their agreement sa kanilang insurance contract. Payment from the insured, which is the premium, yan yung binabayaran, ilang beses nyo maririnig sa pag nagbabasa kayo ng mga insurance, financial decisions. So generally, the insured pays to a common fund from which losses are paid. So obviously, doon kukunin ni insurer yung kanyang pangko-compensate. Pangko-compensate. Na sir, kung ganoon naman ang situation, parang bangko rin tong si insurer, di ba? Kasi kung ano yung binayad ni policyholder kay insurer, doon para kukunin ni insurer yung pambayad niya, pang-compensate. Well, ang difference kasi dyan, sa bangko, napakaliit ng interest. Napakaliit ng interest sa iyong savings. Pag yung pera mo, ginamit mo, pangbili ng insurance, may additional returns ka dyan matatanggap. Diba? Pag nababasa nyo sa mga internet, sa mga post sa internet, diba? Mga millions of millions yung nare-receive nila at the end of their diba? At the end of their policy pag nag-end na, mga after 10 years, after 15 years. So, yun yung isa yun sa mga mga attractiveness, mga advantages, ng mga insurance policies and other investments other than banks. Kasi yung mga investments other than saving sa banks, yun yung kanilang pambenta na mas mataas yung return sa kanilang investment as compared sa ilalagay mo yung pera mo kay bangko. Pero of course, mas secured yung pera mo sa bangko as compared sa invest mo like dito sa insurance, sa stocks, sa mutual funds. Isa yung mga pangbenta nila. So in this case, ganun yun. Kaya nagiging attractive si insurance kasi may additional yan eh. May hindi lang premium yung marireturn sa'yo, may patong yan. However, not all insurance have explicit premiums kasi yung iba, insurance cover bundled with some credit card contract. So yun, pag bangko yung mo, di ba, may mga bangko tayo nag-offer ng insurance. Ano pa ba? Meron din tayong tinatawag na VUL Variable Life Insurance Policy. Kung saan, yung policy mo, not only an insurance but also an investment. So maraming pakulo yan ng mga insurance company to attract policy holders. Maraming silang pakulo. Lalo pakipag-usap kayo sa isang agent nila. Ako hindi ko pa tinatry yan kasi pero alam ko mga ganyan kasi kikita mo sa post nila, yung mga fina-follow ko sa Reddit, yung PH Invest pati yung PH Finance. Daming kwento doon. Tapos kita mo rin mga pinopost ng mga tao sa Facebook. Grabing sales talk nila. Pero ako, as of now, wala pa akong insurance eh. Bakit? Kasi ni-enjoy ko pa yung pera ko. Later na akong papasok yan. Pero before ako papasok sa mga ganyang investment, pag-aralan ko muna. Ganun yung Kasi ang problema, yung mga tao magaling yung mag-sales talk eh. So baka madali ka lang mahikayat. So dapat on your own, do your own research bago ka pumasok sa mga ganyan. Kasi malalaking perang involved yan eh. Malalaking payout yan. And kung yung mga mga contributions per month, malaki yung nila diyan, malaki yung porsyento nila diyan sa ginagawa mong contribution per month. Yung iba ata narinig ko 35%, basta 1/3 ata ng contribution mo per month sa kanila napupunta. So malaki yung kinikita nila. Hindi lang ako sure kung 1/3 ba yun, basta malaki. Significant yung nakukuha nila. So payo lang. Before kayo magpasok sa mga ganyan, do your own research. So ang mga maganda diyan, so ikaw sir, sir? Ano ang suggestion mo Yung sa pag-ibig, meron yung sa pag-ibig, yung hindi yung pag-ibig na hindi yung pag-ibig yung sa bahay-bahay. Yung meron sila doon yung savings, nakalimutan ko basta yung pag-ibig something something, maganda yung investment doon. Meron yun sa mutual funds, VUL, iwasan nyo yun. Basta marami. So, off topic tayo kasi insurance yung pinag-usapan natin. But anyways, let's go to letter C. Indemnification against loss. So si insurer agrees to indemnify the insured or other beneficiaries against loss or liability from specified events and circumstances na tinatawag nating insured event that may occur or be discovered during a specific or specified period. So ganyan sabi natin, di ba? Yung risk ay yung payment gagawin yung risk na transfer kay insurance company, insurance provider, yung payment tapos yung pag nangyari yung insured event, then i-compensate ni insurance provider si insurer, si policy holder. Tawag dito? Nawala tuloy tayo. Off topic tuloy kasi tayo. Dito sa indemnification against loss, basically, kapag nangyari yung insured event, si insurance provider, i-compensate niya si policy holder para sa mga loss or liability na na-incur niya because of the happening of the event. Yeah? Pag nasira yung pag na-aksidente siya, tapos may nabangga siyang tao. So, yung mga damages na na-cause, yung pang-hospitalize yung nabangga niya, si insurance na ang bahala kasi under yun sa policy nila. Kaya, against loss or liability, si insurance provider na yung sasagot diyan kapag under sa policy ng insurance, na under sa policy ni policyholder. Ngayon, ito rin yung problema sa mga insurance company. Napaka-stricto niyan pagdating sa situation kung saan kailangan nilang magbayad, kailangan nilang mag-compensate kasi titingnan nila, magiging stricto yan sila. Dapat wala kang dapat check lahat ng requirements na kung saan dapat required sila magbayad. I-check talaga nila kasi may mga instances na tawag ito na baka niloloko lang sila. Stricto yan sila pagdating sa making sure na yung event na nangyari talaga dapat under talaga sa policy. Walang loophole. Now, the risk as we have discussed, discuss natin yung risk sa derivatives dito. Risk uncertainty or the uncertainty is an essential element of an insurance contract. Risk is the possibility of loss or injury when an uncertain event occurs. So yung risk natin dito. Now, ang insurance risk, this is the risk other than the financial risk transferred from the holder of a contract to the issuer. Diba? Yun yun? Transfer of significant insurance risk. So kung saan, pag nangyari yung insured event, si issuer, si insurance provider yung sasagot ng loss or liability. A contract that transfer only an insignificant insurance is not an insurance contract. A contract that exposes the issuer to financial risk is not an insurance contract unless it also exposes the issuer to significant insurance risk. So kaya sinabi ko kanina, required yung word na significant insurance risk. Kasi pag hindi yan significant, wala yan. Hindi yan mako-consider as insurance contract. Tapos dito naman, pag financial risk, general rule, hindi insurance contract. Pero mako-consider lang siya as insurance contract kapag it exposes the issuer to significant insurance risk. Yan yung an example of that would be the reinsurance, parang ganon. Mga reinsurance yung later on. Ito, mga examples ng insurance. Insurance against theft or damages. Ito, liabilities, legal expense. Yan, dami nila. Basahin nyo lang. Travel insurance, title insurance, insurance swaps. The following are the items or examples, na hindi mako-consider sa insurance contract. Yung mga, pag hindi significant, hindi yan mako-consider sa insurance contract. Self-insurance, gambling contracts, derivatives, credit guarantees, read na lang. Huwag natin i-waste time natin. Legal principle ng isang insurance contract. Now, the principal objective of every insurance contract is to provide financial protection to the insured in case of occurrence of an uncertain future event. Neither the insured nor the insurer shall misuse an insurance contract to unjustly enrich themselves or himself at the expense of the other. Tawag dyan, bawal silang mag-commit ng insurance fraud. Oo, bawal lokohin yan, no? Ni insured, ni policy holder, si insurer, bawal lokohin ni policy holder, si insurance provider, na kunwari nangyaring aksidente, yung pala siya yung may kasalanan, sinet up niya lang pala para makakuha siya ng payout galing kay insurer. Oh, ganun. GG kayo. Stick to yan si insurer. Hahabulin kayo niyan. Insurance fraud yan. Wawa kayo. Ito mga legal principles. Principle of insurable interest. The insured has an insurable interest in the property if he is benefited of the property's existence. Ibig sabihin, nagagamit niya the right to use, the right to enjoy. And kapag nawala yun sa kanya, there's a negative effect sa kanya, yun, prejudice by its destruction. Ito naman, principle of utmost good faith. Lahat ng insurance contract daw must be negotiated with utmost honesty and fairness because the contracting parties do not have the same access to relevant information. So dapat, ngayon sabi natin, honest dapat. Kasi pag nahuli ka, insurance fraud yan, patay ka. Figuratively, of course. Oh. Principle of indemnity, ito na pag-usapan natin, basta nangyari yung insured event, i-compensate ni insurance provider si policy holder. Principle of contribution, nasabi natin. Ito pala. This principle applies when the insured obtains insurance from more than one insurer. O ibig sabihin, isang tao, kumuha siya ng insurance from 2 different policy holder. So, pwede yun. Kahit na same yung nature ng policy niya. So, in case of a loss event, the insured can only claim compensation for the actual loss he incurred from either the insurer or both the insurers on a proportionate basis. Hindi pwede magkaroon ng double compensation for the actual loss incurred by himself. Kasi kung ano lang yung actual loss niya, ganun lang dapat yung amount na marireceive niya. If any of the insurers compensates in full the insurer can claim from the other insurers their share on the loss incurred by the insured. So basically, example, kumuha ka ng ng insurance para sa kotse mo. Oo. Kung may involvement sa aksidente or may damages, then kumuha ka rin ng insurance para sa ano ba maganda? Accident insurance, gano'n na lang. If na-involve ka sa aksidente, ikaw mismo na-involve ka sa aksidente, may payout ka. O yun, may insurance yung kotse mo, may insurance ka. Ngayon, pag na-involve ka sa aksidente, syempre, may damages yan eh. So, ngayon, hindi pwede both of the insurance companies, ang gagastos sa'yo. Full. Bawal ang double compensation for the actual losses. Kung ano yung actual losses mo, yun lang yung amount na ma-receive mo. Ngayon, yung amount na ma-receive mo, nakadepende yan sa pag-uusapan between the two insurance providers. So, kasi if any of the insurers compensates in full the insurer can claim from the other insurers their share on the loss incurred by the insured. So, pag-uusapan nila, paano hatian nila. Bawal kang mag-double compensation for the actual losses. Ito naman, principle of subrogation. As we know, ang subrogation basically substituting yan, di ba? Means substituting one entity, the insurer, for another entity, legal right to collect debt or damages. Ito. Subrogation means substituting one entity. Meron yan. Ano tawag dito? Example, na-involve ka sa aksidente. Hindi ko yung may kasalanan, binangga ka. So, itong insurance company na to, ganito yan. Example, may insurance ka for your car, di ba? Or basta may insurance ka. Na-involve ka sa aksidente, pero wala kang kasalanan sa aksidente. Then, yung aksidente na yan, cause damages to you. So, ito naman siya, no? So, ang batas natin kasi ganito. So, ang tatanungin nyo, so, paano ganun sir? Sino yung magbabayad sa'yo ng compensation? Yung naka-aksidente sa'yo o yung insurance mo? Ang una mong hahabulin, yung naka-aksidente sa'yo. Pag hindi magbabayad sa'yo yung naka-aksidente sa'yo, pumunta ka sa insurance mo. Sa insurance company mo, na-aksidente ako. O sige, bibigyan ka nila ng payout niyan. Ngayon, itong si insurance company, hahabulin yung naka-aksidente sa'yo. Ganun yan. Kaya ito yung principle of subrogation. Oo. Bibigyan nila sa'yo yung pera, ngayon sila na bahala para maghabol dun sa naka-aksidente sa'yo. Papalitan ka nila sa paghahabol. Principle of loss minimization, ito basically, siyempre, gawin mo rin on your part na umiwas sa aksidente. Huwag mong sadyain. Kasi pag sinadya mo yan, GG ka. Baka hindi bigay sa yung payout mo. So dapat ipakita mo, like dito, pag nasusunog yung bahay mo, tawagin mo yung fire department. Or patayin mo, subukan mo patayin yung apoy. Ipakita mo na you are, ayaw mo mangyari sa yung aksidente basically. Pero kasi pag pinakita mo na gusto mo na parang gusto mo mangyari sa yung aksidente, baka hindi ka bigyan ng payout niyan. Ito naman, principle of proximate cause. Yan, itong proximate cause, under to sa parang legal concept to. Basically itong proximate cause basically means it pertains to the primary cause that has been the reason for the effect. Parang ganon. Kung ano yung cause, kung ano yung primary cause na kung saan dahil sa primary cause na yon nangyari yung effect. O in this case, nangyari yung aksidente. So when a loss is caused by more than one loss o event, not the furthest cause, is taken into consideration when determining the insurance liability. This principle does not apply to life insurance. Ito meron tayong, ito yung mahalaga. Mahalaga to pagdating sa insurance contract basically. Yung direct insurance contract is an insurance contract where the insurer, si insurance provider, directly accepts the risk from the insured, si policyholder, and assumes the sole obligation to compensate the insured in case of loss event. So direct to. Walang middleman. Sila lang dalawa party. Ito naman siya insurance contract. Medyo medyo intricate to siya. Yan naman makahilo. So an insurance contract issued by one insurer, the reinsurer, to compensate another insurer, the cedant ang tawag natin, or the cedant, for losses on one or more contracts issued by the cedant. So yan. Si cedant, meron siya mga insurance contract with the policyholder kung saan itong si cedant pumasok rin siya sa insurance contract with an reinsurer. Para kung in case na itong si cedant magkaroon siya ng losses sa mga insurance contracts niya, i-compensate siya ni insurer. Ganun, no? Si cedant may mga insurance contract. Ngayon, pag nag-take siya ng mga losses sa kanyang insurance contract, then, i-compensate siya, i-indemnify siya ni reinsurer. So, parang, ito yan. Sana yun dito? Ito yan, no? So, ito, si cedant, naka-experience ng financial risk. Kasi dahil may losses sa kanyang mga insurance contract. And with that, pag ganun lang, hindi siya ma-treated, di ba? Pero in this case kasi, meron tayong reinsurer. So, exposes the issuer to significant insurance risk. Ganun. So, reinsurer, the party that has an obligation under a reinsurance contract to compensate a cedant if an insured event occurs and cedant the policyholder under reinsurance contract. Saan yung araw ko? So, fast track tayo dito. Napapahaba na pala tayo. Ito separating the components insurance contract. Read na lang. Legal level of aggregation. Basta read na lang to Accounting models, meron tayong 3. Si general premium approach, read na lang. Recognition. Para hindi masayang oras natin. Kasi read na lang man to Contractual service margin, yan yung kinikita pero unearned profit pa lang yan. Subsequent measurement, onerous contract. Wala naman halos na dito. Reinsurance, contract sold. Oo, tiyan mo, fina-fast track na natin kasi baka yung iba sa inyo, kanina pa nag-stop manood eh. So, para hindi masayang oras natin. The recognition. So, ito, the recognition, kailan mo din-recognize ang iyong insurance contract? Una, kapag na-extinguish na ito. Ibig sabihin, kapag nag-expire na yung contract, baka 5 years na yung contract or yearly, or kapag na-discharge na or canceled. The contract is modified and the modification meets any of the conditions for the recognition. Ito naman, statement of financial position, paano pre-represent, continuation, so dito no, cash equivalent, insurance. So ano lang naman tayo. Kung makikita nyo rin yung yung exercises nyo after sa chapter na to, mga theories lang naman yun eh. So read na lang. So don't worry, this is not very important naman. So next topic will be the accounting for build, operate, and transfer. So mabilisan din yun. Hello. So ito, our very last topic for accounting for special transaction, ADVAC 1 for this semester. The accounting for build, operate, and transfer. Yay! So ano ba tong build, operate, transfer? Now, naalala ko pa to sa if I can still remember, tong build, operate, transfer topic was only discussed sa amin nung review namin nung college, yung college pa, yung review namin, mga around 5 minutes lang to ata na-discuss. So, kasi itong build, operate, transfer, napaka-ikli lang and easily understandable. So, ano ang ating learning objectives for this topic? So, una, define ano ang build, operate, transfer arrangement that is within the scope of PFRS of the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards and to account for such arrangement. Now, ano ba tong build, operate, transfer arrangement or also known as the BOR arrangement? Now, under a BOT arrangement, under a BOT arrangement, the construction of a new infrastructure or the development or maintenance of an existing of an existing infrastructure is outsourced by the government, also known as the grantor, from private companies that we call the operators through competitive bidding or direct negotiation. So in this situation, the operator is awarded with the BOT contract to which the operator is allowed to finance the construction, the development or maintenance of the infrastructure, and ang kapalit niyan, they will commercially operate it for a fixed period of time sufficient for him to earn back the capital investment he invested to such endeavor, as well as to collect profit on top of that capital. After which, itong si operator will transfer the infrastructure to the government without further compensation. So, from that alone, gets yun na kung anong meaning yan. Yan yung mga pinapaubaya ni gobyerno. Instead na si gobyerno ang gagawa, pinagawa niya lang sa iba, di ba? So for example, a good example of that, yung mga yung NLEX natin, SLEX, yung mga Skyway, di ba? Instead na si government ang gagawa, magko-construct under kay DPWH, yung mga private entities na lang ang magko-construct nun. And after ma-construct yun, anong gagawin? Magko-collect na lang ng toll fees yung mga private entities na yun para yung ginastos nila, yung capital nila, mababalik. On top of that, capital is yung profit nila from such operation, from such from such endeavor, di ba? From such, tawag ito, operations. So, ganun kasimple ang build, operate, and transfer. Instead na si gobyerno ang gagawa, i-outsource niya na lang. Iba na lang ang paggawa niya sa mga development, construction, or maintenance. So sa maintenance, ano example niyan, sir? Yung MRT natin. Pating LRT, di ba? Instead na government yung mamamahala doon, pinasa niya lang sa iba. Nag-outsource na lang siya. Yung kung sino man yung kalimutan ko pangalan ng company na yun, na Manila basta corporation, sila na yung namamahala sa pag-operate ng MRT. Sila na yung bibili ng mga bagon. Hindi yung bagon dito sa atin na bagon yung train. Oo. Mga bagon, sila na sa railways, yeah, sila na mamamahala doon, hindi na government. Easy lang si government. Di ba? Ganun yung build, operate, and transfer. Now, other terms na ginagamit natin sa build, operate, transfer is sa mga BOT arrangement is yung service concession agreement, arrangement. Ibig sabihin, tawag ito, yun, gaya na sabi natin, instead na si government yung magpapaubaya or gagawa ng service, magpe-perform, i-outsource niya lang sa iba. Ano to, mga example nito is yung Manila Water in yung Maynila, di ba? Yung water utility sa Manila. Service concession yun. Service concession arrangement yun. Na hindi na si government yung nagpa-facilitate nun, si Maynilad na at si Manila Water yung nagdi-distribute ng tubig sa Kamaynilaan. Service concession yun. Rehabilitate, operate, and transfer yun sa mga natin. Sa parks, yun ginagawa yan sa mga parks, sa mga kalsada. Rehabilitate nila yung mga kalsada. Tapos sisingil sila sa public. Tapos after nun, itatransfer nila pabalik sa government. Yung public to private service concession, ito PPP, private-public partnership. Yung ganun, mga arrangement na iba. Si private partner na yung gagawa ng si government igagrant lang yung right sa kanya, documentation, etc. etc. Pagkatapos yan, siyempre, para mabalik yung capital, commercially operate yan ni private partner. Pag nabawi niya na yung capital niya, or on top of that is the profit, balik niya kay government. Now, what are the features of a BOT arrangement? Now, the service to be provided by the operator under the BOT arrangement is of public service nature, considering that it is granted by the government, so it is a public service nature, and shall be provided to the public on behalf of the public sector, entity, or the government. Kaya naging public service nature yan kasi government yung nagagrant ng karapatan na yan. Nagagrant ng license na yan. Gaya ng sabi dito, the grantor of a BOT contract is a public sector entity gaya ng government. So, since isa yung grantor, yung arrangement is of public service in nature. Now, the operator is the one responsible for at least some of the management of the infrastructure and related services and does not merely act as an agent on behalf of the grantor. Kasi basically, parang si operator ni namamahala niyan. Malaki yung minamanage niya. Hindi lang yan basta-basta, di ba? Para may cafeteria yung government. Kung saan, instead na mag-hire na lang sila ng agency para i-check yung para pamahalan yung cafeteria na yun. Hindi ganun. Masyadong yun. Masyadong maliit yung yun. Agency lang yun. Pagdating sa mga BOT arrangement, hindi lang basta-basta management ang ginagawa ni operator. Malaki yung kanyang participation diyan, napaka-significant. The contract sets the initial price to be levied by the operator and regulates price revisions over the period of the service arrangement. Like yung toll fees natin para sa SLEX, NLEX, Cavitex, tawag dito pa, Skyway, yun. Pinag-usapan niya nila kung magkanong sisingilin nila. Napaluha ko dun. Na ipapatong nila sa mga gagamit ng properties na yon, ng services na yon. Now, the operator is obliged to hand over the infrastructure to the grantor in a specified condition at the end of the period of the arrangement for a little or no incremental consideration, irrespective of which party initially finance it. So, kahit na si government yung nag-finance yan, or hati sila ni operator, o baka si operator lang buong buo, tapos ang ginawa lang ni government is to grant the right, to grant the license, to grant the privilege. So, kaya nga nandoon yung word na transfer, both. Kaya nga dyan yung word na transfer. Kasi at the end of the contract, at the end of the arrangement, ibibigay yan. Ita-transfer yan ni operator kay government, pabalik kung ano man yung pinagkasunduan nila. For little or no incremental consideration. Like for example, bawing-bawi na yung namamahala ng NLEX sa kanyang investment sa expressway na yun. So hindi na. Depende sa arrangement nila. So ito, accounting tayo. IFRIC 12 Service Concession Arrangement. So itong IFRIC, basically the International Financial Reporting Standard International Financial Reporting Interpretation Committee, di ba? Yung IFRIC natin. So, IFRIC 12 basically interprets service concession arrangement. Under IFRIC 12, build, operate, and transfer contracts if nabubulol mo lang ngayon. IFRIC 12 applies to both contracts if the grantor controls or regulates what services the operator must provide with the infrastructure. Kasi siya yung mag-grant eh. Kaya nga grantor ang tawag. To whom it must be provided and at what prices. Di ba? Di ba nag-aaway-aaway sila dun sa ano ngayon? Sa NLEX ata yan? Basta yun sa Valenzuela City. Yung sakop ng expressway kung saan nandun yung Valenzuela City. Away-away sila ngayon dahil sa toll fee nila. So yun. Kasi nga grantor si government. Pwede may permit yan eh. So pwede kasi power ni government is to regulate. So kaya niya yan gawin. Kaya niya yung pakialaman sila. The grantor controls through ownership, beneficial entitlement, or otherwise any significant residual interest in the infrastructure at the end of the term of the arrangement. So yan. Ngayon, ito yung sasabi natin kanina, di ba? The outsourcing of the operations of a government unit's internal services, gaya ng employee cafeteria, building maintenance and accounting or information technology functions is not service concession arrangement within the scope of IFRIC 12 or SIC 29. So, ngayon nasabi natin dito, the operator is responsible for at least some of the management of the infrastructure and related services and does not merely act as an agent on behalf of the grantor. Significant yung ginagawa niya. Hindi lang siya basta-basta na mamahala sa employee cafeteria, sa maintenance ng mga vehicles ng government, sa accounting or IT functions. Hindi. Significant dapat yung ginagawa ni operator. Ito naman, these are the accounting issues when it comes to service concession arrangement. Ito, treatment of the operator's right over the infrastructure. Anong rights meron si operator? Depende sa agreement nila. Recognition and measurement of the arrangement consideration. Anong pinag-usapan nila? Construction or upgrade services, operation services, borrowing costs. So, alam natin borrowing costs, di ba? IAS 20 yan. Subsequent accounting treatment of financial asset and intangible asset, items provided to the operator by the grantor. Now, the treatment of the operator's right over the infrastructure. Now, the infrastructure referred to in the both contract accounted for under IFRIC 12 shall not be recognized as PPE. So, kung hindi siya recognized as PPE, sir, ano ang gagamitin nating standard sa kanya? Provided naman dito. So, under recognition and measurement of the arrangement consideration. So, under a both arrangement that is within the scope of the IFRIC 12, the operator acts as a service provider. Kasi nga ang IFRIC 12 is service concession arrangement. So, tawag kay operator is service provider. So, such services may be construction or upgrade services. Si operator constructs or upgrades infrastructure used to provide public service. Gaya ng mga roads natin, di ba? Mga expressway, mga dams. Yan. Construction or upgrade yan. Meron naman tatawag na operation services to which the operator operates and maintains the infrastructure for a specified period of time. Anong example yan? MRT, LRT. Yan, operation services yan. Now, ito na. The operator shall recognize and measure revenue in accordance with PFRS 15. So, yung PFRS 15, napag-usapan na natin, di ba? Revenue from contracts with customer for the services it performs. So, hindi PPE ang gagamitin dyan, kundi PFRS 15. Revenue from contracts with customer for the services it performs. Now, let's talk about construction or upgrade services. Now, the consideration from construction or upgrade services may be rights to the financial asset, intangible asset, or partly financial, partly intangible. Now, the operator shall account for construction or upgrade services in accordance to, gaya ng sabi natin, PFRS 15. Now, after the completion of the construction services, the asset recognized from the contract is accounted for under PFRS 9. Bakit PFRS 9, sir? Kasi diba, after nila ma-construct yan, ang pinag-usapan, it will be commercially, tawag ito, anong word yung ginamit? It will be, kalimutan ko yung word na yun. And commercially be operated para mabawi ni operator or in this case the service provider, mabawi niya yung kanyang capital. On top of that, may profit siyang kikitain. Kaya PFRS 9. So, parang may return dyan. And or past 38 kapag may intangible asset na na-create, or both if the consideration is partly a financial asset and partly an intangible asset. O yeah, PFRS na kasi na-construct na eh. So, pag na-construct na, anong gagawin niya? I-operate niya eh. Commercially operation niya na yan. So, may marireceive siya. Nakita dyan. And it will be considered as financial asset under PFRS 9 or PAS 38, intangible asset. Depende sa recognition. Now, financial asset shall be recognized if the operator has, kailan natin gagamitin ng PFRS 9, financial asset? Kapag si operator may unconditional contractual right to receive cash. O unconditional. Ibig sabihin, no conditions needed. Basta na tapos yung construction, receive niya, commercial operation niya na, may unconditional contractual right siya to receive cash. Or another financial asset from the grantor, such as when the grantor contractually guarantees to pay the operator. In this case, either siya yung mag-operate to or ipapagawa lang sa kanya ni government yung construction. After that, babayaran siya ng government. Specified or determinable amount or the shortfall, ibig sabihin kapag kinulang, di ba, pinag-usapan nila, ikaw operator, kikitain mo 1 million. Pero nung pagkahuli, ang kinita niya lang 900,000. So yung kulang, yung shortfall, aabunuhan ni government. Ganon. Financial asset, the amount due from the amount due from or at the direction of the grantor is accounted for under PFRS 9, measured at amortized cost, FABOCI or FBPL. Pag intangible asset naman, ma-recognize natin yan kapag si operator receives a right, a license to charge user of the public service. Sinong meron yan? Mga NLEX, di ba? Binigyan sila ng license, ng right ni government. Sina NLEX, sina yung namamahala ng MRT, LRT. Di ba? Sina Scabitex, sina SLEX. Binigyan sila ng license ni government to collect from the public kung ano yung mga na gumagamit ng public service nila. Yung mga sinong sumasakay sa MRT, LRT, sinong dumadaan sa expressway. Oo. Kaya 'di ba, na-revoke yung license dun sa So kaya minsan medyo delicate yan. So dapat good yung yung relationship mo with the government. Kasi pag na-bad trip si government, tatanggalan kanya ng license to charge the user. Malaking kawalan sa kita mo kahit isang araw, 2 araw lang yan. Kasi kung maraming dumadaan, di ba? The operator shall account for the intangible assets or the license it has received from the grantor under past 38. So may dalawa tayo, di ba? Financial asset yan. Take note talaga dito. Financial asset yan kapag ganito. Si operator may unconditional contractual right to receive cash or another financial asset from the guarantor. Financial asset yan ang pag-recognize. Intangible asset yan kapag ang binigay ni grantor kay operator is the right to charge users for the public service. So tandaan yan. Financial asset, unconditional contractual right to receive cash or another financial asset from the grantor. Intangible asset kapag right to charge users yan. Kapag party naman, accounted nyo as component, operation services, shall be accounted for PFRS 15. Borrowing cost, hindi pala past 20 yung borrowing cost natin, past 23. Okay? Yan lang, napakaikli. So, yan yung discussion natin for, basically, that's all that's our final lecture video. This is our final lecture video for Advanced Accounting Part 1, also known as the Accounting for Special Transactions. So, yay! Natapos natin ang isang SEM. Na-cover natin yung from cover to cover yung book, no? So, with that, gaya na sabi ko, wala na kayong assignment for the remaining parts of the semester, which is 2 weeks na lang. So, focus on the long exam this week. Ano man this week? This week kasi mapopost ko to mga madaling araw ulit. So, Wednesday, tayo BAPE 6, Friday, BAPE 7. Same schedule rin pagdating sa finals week natin. Next week, Wednesday, BAPE 6. Friday, BAPE 7. So, for BAPE 6, long quiz natin, ang topics is, chapters 11, 12, 13, yung home office branch accounting, insurance, pati itong bot. Yung sa BAPE 7, basically, sa Friday, ang topic doon is, yung long quiz is the derivatives. Post ko bukas yung video or sa Monday. Tapos ang topic natin for the board exam, basically kung ano yung na-discuss sa second sem. Yun lang. Hindi ko na isasali yung sa midterms kasi mabuang kayo. So, that is all. Good night. Bye-bye. Love you.